Well, I've got Brian Wang back again because why? Because we did two parts this particular story on the semi truck. By the way, we recorded this on Tuesday, and while we were recording it, the stock was going up dramatically. In fact, at this very moment, just for fun, I'm just going to look it up here. Yes, we're over $11 up on the day, and some people are saying it's because of the Tesla semi truck. I'm not sure that's true, Brian, but it's pretty interesting if it is. So on part one, we covered what just happened. If you didn't see part one, you definitely want to go back and take a look at it. What was, in fact, the big news on Tuesday? And then number two, we covered the economics for the customer. What are the economics in terms of the truck, and also the economics in terms of kind of the country, kind of the world of electrical grid and such as that. What are the electronics, the economics with regard to that? And we took a look at what was part three, Brian. Let's see here. Part three was, why it took 2 years longer was part two, which we concluded had to do with basically how long it takes for trucking companies to make up their mind. But anyway, to get all that detail, go back and take a look at part one. Today, we're going to go on from there and cover the rest of the story. So Brian, take it away.
Okay, so let's get to our deck. So we're going to talk about the grid and the infrastructure. So we talk about the grid and the plan for electrification. We look at master plan part 3, and in terms of repowering the grid with renewables, it would take 22.9 terawatt hours of stationary storage megapacks. It'll take 6.8 terawatts of solar. And this would be, I think, adding this each year. And then how much to do electric vehicles and stuff like that. So basically a lot of grid power has to be added. And this would be for about up to 4 million trucks a year. If all the diesel new trucks, like we have 80 million new cars, but 4 million new trucks a year globally, about 80% of those are in Asia, 50%, sometimes 60% are in China, because they're where the manufacturer of the world is. It can drop off in certain years because of interest rates, other spending, economy, those kinds of things. So 10% each roughly for Europe and for North America.
Wow.
The gray band for Europe and the dark blue for North America. Slightly more than that is the NAFTA part, and then the big blue block is Asia.
Wow.
That has it. And then again, a snapshot in a year: 2.4 million in China, 500,000 in Japan, 250,000 in India. India is a fast-growing one, so it could be up to 500,000 or something like that there. Indonesia is number 2 or number 4, and then South Korea is there. So substantial for each of those countries. Like Japan is bigger than the United States in terms of the amount of trucks.
Right.
So that goes to the truck, and that goes to electricity. So in terms of the grid build out, we have this uneven grid where basically the solar, the big orange kind of view here, the big lump in the center, is where solar tends to generate more power during the middle of the day, right? And then you have less at nighttime. Okay. But the demand drops off even more in the nighttime. So that's when you can also charge your mega packs. So there's how much demand we need for 4 million trucks and 20 million trucks, 21 million trucks total for the world. And that could likely double in 20 years because economy keeps getting bigger and bigger. So then you're still moving more goods. And then they had different costs for the interconnections. They're estimating $752 per kilowatt of interconnect. So maybe $752,000 for a megawatt. So we actually could be heading to a lower price than we're talking about. So we're talking about getting to $500 per kilowatt for a mega charging connection for these kind of things. So, but basically, then US technical potential on the far right column, we see that 153 terawatts for solar, onshore wind, 11 terawatts. Everything else is low, gigawatts, river flow rates, geothermal, probably less than 100 gigawatts. So solar is also the conclusion that Tesla came to as where it needs to come from.
And he reiterated that just the other day in that conference, that water conference that he was at. He reiterated that he sees solar combined with batteries as being by far the biggest for the future.
Right. So Altimeter Capital, $10 billion fund headed by Brad Gerstner and Bill Gurley. So they're projecting here 2024, we have 5.5% of power going to data centers, right? Going up from 4.5% in 2023, and then going to nearly 20%, 19.3% around 2030.
Wow.
And this is just for the AI data center growth, which may be underestimating how much we end up doing, depending upon how good the AI gets. This could be even more demand. So 20% of the 4,100 terawatt hours for the United States would be about 800 terawatt. So we're talking about adding 600 terawatt hours of power. And we have not been adding power really for the last 50 years, from 1980. It's been small amounts of power increase in the United States. Same thing for Europe. Because basically, when we needed 2%, 1% more, we could get it from efficiency. We just make the refrigerators run more efficiently, the washing machine, all that kind of stuff. So then the demand increased, but the actual amount that we added was not increasing. So then we did not build new grid. We did not build new transformer stations at any meaningful number. We replaced something that got broken, but then all the companies, and I think you mentioned that maybe your dad worked at a company for adding in power plants and stuff like that. That all happened like up to the 1960s. And then, the special train lines to move really heavy 200-ton, 500-ton transformers, they went away. They had to do a special DARPA thing in order to make them smaller, break them up to pieces. So we just have not been ready to add in a lot of power. And then up until the AI and the electric trucks, we did not think that we would start adding in a lot of electrification. Like they started thinking about, oh yeah, we're going to go to all electric trucks, and so we'll need to add 20% more power from now to 2040. But now we add 20% more power for the AI data center by 2030, right? So the need for power, if it goes from 5% to 20% in 6 years, what happens over the next 10 years after that? Does it start slowing down? No, it goes faster. It goes to at least 50%. And then this isn't even adding in the electric trucks of 20%.
Right.
So
and the data centers are basically also have been doing, and I'm sure will continue to do, pretty much what we're saying Tesla is going to have to do, and these various fleets, is that they're going to have to add the power themselves. Right. They're going to have to put in solar. They're going to have to locate themselves next to a dam that isn't being fully utilized. They're going to have to maybe even do some of these mini nukes at one point if these mini nukes start to become a thing. So, but relying on the basic utility companies to build out this infrastructure or the power requirements over the next 5 to 10 years to take care of all three of these huge new requirements is not going to happen.
Right. And the reason why hydro doesn't work, one, if you built the dam, you've had the supply mapped out, so you're already giving the power to the people. A new dam, China has dammed pretty much every river that there is, so they don't have new supply to go there, and they've already got that planned out. The United States did all this damming before, and the issue with building a dam is not just the fact that it's stuck in front of the river, is that created a new lake.
Right.
The Hoover Dam created Lake Mead, made it bigger and stuff like that. It's where do I put the lake that I just made because I put in a dam, right? For solar, 10 acres roughly per megawatt. So 640 acres, that would be 64 megawatts. So every square mile, I could add in 64 megawatts of solar, ballpark, right? So, right.
And Elon reiterated his statement, although he's increased it a little bit, that about 130 square miles of solar in the United States would give us everything that we need for the grid.
130 square miles.
Yeah, I said 200 square kilometers. So that's roughly, I think, about 133 square miles. He had said before 100 square miles. He had said if we took 100 square miles out of the desert in Southwest.
I think he may be referring to like 100 miles by 100 miles.
Oh,
So,
you
or 130 miles
might
by 130 miles.
be right.
Right.
Yeah,
Because,
about 133 square. Yeah.
right. So 100 miles squared.
So
So
133
10,000 square
by
miles.
133. Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Because that, otherwise it wouldn't
Yes.
get to the right number.
That's
So
correct.
yes. So then you could do that.
But he did
anyway, so
increase it. He did increase it to 133. He's been saying 100 for years. And
Right.
so he's
And that goes to the doubling thing, because
Yes.
130 times 130, that gives you the 200,000, whatever, and that would be or 20,000. That would be the amount needed with
right.
this plus AI plus other, plus notification and stuff like that. But I'm thinking that is underestimating the future.
Okay.
That 2050, 2060, the amount of inference and other stuff, like we'll want, I'm thinking easily 10 times the amount of power for to run all the AI that we want.
Right.
That we all want to have,
A robot or own robot.
20 Tesla bots. We'll all want to have a GPT 20. That it will, the amount of power that we'll need, is underestimated. So the whole climate change, let's try and convert the existing amount of 20,000 terawatt from coal and other stuff and natural gas over to solar and nuclear and stuff like that. I know it's going to take us 50 years to do that. We're going to have to figure out how to build a lot more power, a lot faster, just to get up with the growth. Good news is that converting the 15,000 terawatt hours of coal and natural gas will be trivial, because we'll have made 100,000 or 200,000 terawatt hours
Right.
of solar and batteries in order to feed our AI demand, and because it's $1 trillion of need. So converting, build 10% extra to clean up this other stuff that we're doing, that will be trivial. But there will be a lot of net new, right? Just like China has gone to over double the power of the United States.
Right.
Because they're providing 20-30% of the power per person to 1.4 billion people, right? But they go to 50%, 60%, and also they add in AI, you're going to add in a lot more power.
Yeah.
So all the estimates, Master Plan Part 3 is outdated.
Yeah.
It needs to be Master Plan Part 3 plus AI plus all this other stuff, have not gotten to the scale of, if we're going at, the slide here about 20%, right? So then we're starting to add 3 to 4% per year, right? Just for the AI.
Just for
add another 3 or 4% for electric trucks. So we're at 6% net new power, right? So that off of 4,100 is 240 to 300 terawatt hours per year. And this could be low, right? Maybe we need to add 400 terawatt hours per year. So that is 8 terawatt hours for 1 gigawatt nuclear power plant, right? So that would mean 50 nuclear power plants a year.
A year.
A year, right? So, and that's in the early stages up to 2030.
Yeah.
It's going to speed up by 2040.
Yeah.
Right? So the amount of power that you need is just insane. And then that's not talking about that grid problem. When I make that power plant, I got to run all that copper and high voltage stuff, transformers and stuff, over to where I'm powering it. Right?
Exactly.
And that took, decades before to make the smaller amount that we have. And we can't even do that now,
right. So this is where this next series of slides comes in, is what everybody's going to have to do. What AI, what I started to mention, which is what AI is, or what the Microsofts and the Amazons of the world have been doing, and what Tesla is now going to apparently also do is they're going to customize the effort. So that's the next subject matter, is customizing this effort by customer.
Right.
And I thought that was, to me, it was the biggest takeaway of all from the
Mhm.
video.
Mhm.
We've talked about the fact that there's that these companies were going to be doing their uptake very slowly. Test it, test 10, test 100, test 1,000. But then there's the second phase of this. If Walmart comes in and says, I want 1,000 trucks right now, and I can deliver them in 2026, how are they going to then electrify? How are they going to build out their infrastructure in order to take care of those 1,000 trucks? And I thought that was the most interesting part of the conversation. I'll let you explain what Tesla's going to do.
So for truck fueling currently, there's something like this Iowa 80 truck stop. You can see all the stuff in back. So there's a bunch of cars parked up front, but in back is where all the trucks are parked, right? And so this is like an 80-acre thing. Like it's about 1/8 of a square mile of a truck stop at the Iowa 80, the biggest truck stop in the world. So you have all these trucks parked, you have the Wendy's, and then you have, fueling, going for all these trucks. So that's, processing on the order of 200 to 500, 400 trucks at a time, right?
Yeah.
In a location. If I was to make something like that for electric, right? If I'm saying like 400 trucks at a go, charging 400 trucks in 1 hour, right? I need 400 megawatts, right? I need a coal plant to power that, or I need about 7 square miles of solar, right?
Okay.
Right. So that is why I need to replace that in the location. So building them smaller at different locations is something that in this early phase that we'll need to do. This goes to the trying to adjust it, like how much power can get off the grid. The more I can, the better. And oh yeah, this is larger amounts. So it goes to how many fuelings per year. You have to work that out. I'm ballparking $24 million per truck stop. Let me go back to another slide here, where we were going at the smaller location. This is what we're looking at now, is that adding 1 to 4 mega chargers, each one costing about $500,000. And then if I can avoid adding a mega pack, which if I can kind of sub it in someplace, I can avoid adding a mega pack. And the mega pack costs $1.2 million after incentives. So if I have 4 mega chargers, that's $2 million. Mega packs, 2.4 million to have 2 of those mega packs, like in this picture. This setup with some solar not shown would be about $6.4 million. Maybe $6 million with additional subsidies on the solar. And that would be enough for 18 trucks. That would be about a little over $300,000 per truck. So if Tesla charges $150,000, $200,000 per truck, and then $300,000 each, my all-in cost with infrastructure is about $500,000. But I can save the solar if I can get grid power from someone. So that saves $2 million. And then I can save the mega packs or reduce the mega packs if I can, again, get straight up from the grid without having to time shift. Like the mega packs mean I can charge up at night, the mega packs, and then discharge into the trucks during the day. So the solar is, do I have power or not? If not, I have to build solar. The mega packs are, is there power at night? Do I need to get the power at night? Is it cheaper, whatever that? Then I use the mega packs. I may use the mega pack just because the power is there, but I want to get cheaper power.
Right.
10 cents a kilowatt hour, 5 cents a kilowatt hour, instead of 30 cents a kilowatt hour. So the economics work out on the mega pack, either because I'm moving it or because it's cheaper and I want to move it from that time.
So then Tesla, I'm a salesman for Tesla. I come into the customer, I say, okay, how many trucks are you going to buy? Well, we're going to buy 40 trucks.
Mhm.
Okay, where are you going to run them? Well, I'm going to run them between these 2 points, or I've got 5 that go between these 2 points. I got 10 that go between these 3 points. I've got 5 that go cross country. So I've got all these different use cases. Well, with AI,
Mhm.
I can put all that information. I can ask Grok,
Mhm.
hey Grok, here's my setup. What's the best way to handle these trucks?
Yeah.
But Tesla has basically said in this video again, Priestley, the head of that department, has said, we're going to go into each customer and we're going to customize their program for how to make sure that they have enough charging capacity. We're going to build out a national grid, but we're also going to help them if they wish to put it behind the wall, behind the fence
Mhm.
in their own facility. So it should be interesting, though, that in each case, they're going to have to be, they'll unlike cars, where they kind of had to start figuring it out, by where the cars were going over the first few years and put that into the data. The data then told them where they needed to build more chargers. In this case, you've got a combination, but your customer is telling you exactly what they're going to do.
Right.
So in advance, you can say, oh, I need 2 mega chargers at Buttonwillow, or I
Mhm.
need 5 at Bakersfield, or I need 10 near that Iowa or Ohio, whichever it was.
Iowa, yeah.
Yeah. Or I need to talk to the truck stop and see if I can get them to convert some of their space over to 10 at that spot. So you have all these opportunities, but the customer is going to basically say, here's what I need.
And basically, this what this thing is showing is that 50 to 70% of your costs is mega packs, mega chargers, and solar.
If you decide to
So
go 100% in, yeah.
right, you can well, actually it's 70% if you do all three. If you can remove the solar, you drop it to 40%.
Right.
If you only have the mega chargers and somehow are leaching off the grid,
Right.
then you can get it down to you know um you know $2 million for 18 trucks. 18 trucks is about $3.6 million. So it's still 30%. You can't really get down to below 30% of the need because you have to charge it someplace, unless you can somehow buy a truck and just use other people's charging setup, right? So basically there's a need optimizing that bigger piece beyond the truck
Exactly.
is what they're talking about.
Yeah, and it'll be just like when you make the decision whether to put one on your roof at home.
Right.
It's like, okay, do we want to invest the capital now, especially with these government incentives? And then 6 years from now, it's free.
Right.
At a certain point, maybe it's 3 years, maybe it's 5 years, but at a certain
Mhm.
point, we've paid off the solar, we've paid off
Mhm.
the mega chargers, we've
Yeah.
paid off the mega packs,
Yeah.
we paid off the trucks, and we're
Mhm.
running these trucks for zero.
Right. Right. But the other thing is that basically, if we need to ultimately add 20% more power of the United States, of Europe, of China,
Right.
for truck electrification,
Right.
then 20% of the utilities of the future are basically the Pepsi and Tesla and whoever else is making the charging network, right?
Yeah.
For this new, so I'm replacing all the fuels, gas stations
Right.
with this new infrastructure, which is basically 20% more utility.
Right.
So then, yes, it's not just all cost because I'm saving my fuel costs,
Yes.
60 cents, 26 cents per mile instead of 66 cents per mile, right? But I'm also allowing myself to generate electricity, sell it to other people, maybe sell it to that AI data center,
Yeah.
over there, right? And so getting into that business is something that could be very profitable because the demand for electricity will be huge.
Yes.
So then I'm adding 20% more for trucking, and then I have now control of the solar. It wasn't
Right.
just all a cost. I can sell it to other people. I can, if it's 30 cents per kilowatt hour sometimes, and my generation cost is 5 cents or 3 cents, right?
Mhm.
Then I've used myself as a demand point to also make money on that other thing. So it's a revenue generating thing where not just we with our solar and power packs, power walls become mini utilities, but every
Right.
business becomes a utility, and particularly the transportation supply side thing. So a Pepsi or Walmart could say, I could become, if there's 100 utilities in a state, if I get to 1-2%, I could be one of the biggest utilities in the state.
Utilities.
I'm a major utility, and I'm providing power for my trucks, and I'm saving on the operating costs. But then I can then time shift and sell power at 60-80% margin,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So there's so that part of the solution too. But in terms of the build out, it's not just solving for Walmart and Pepsi. It's
Yeah.
for solving for Pepsi and Walmart and the surrounding businesses. I've talked to at Climate Week, truck advisors and stuff like that. Everyone wants to do it. I want to buy this electric truck. The community city wants to do it too, but then they don't have the 10 million bucks, the 6 million bucks, whatever, to get it all going. They're looking for the grants and stuff like that. So you need to have an anchor tenant. From the 1960s to 1990s, the United States built about 100,000 shopping malls,
Right.
right? So those 1,000 shopping malls, 50 stores in an average size mall, some mega malls with 200 stores. They're pulling in, the power of one of these things, there's like electricity there, but they were more about the land and the billions spent to make the retail space, right?
Right.
But they were making profit. So then, okay, we're doing this thing, and thus we're doing this build up. Similarly, we're going to need to build out probably 1 million, 2 million. Like I think the goal of the United States Biden infrastructure plan was that we're going to put 7.8 billion in, and we'll get 500,000 superchargers out, right? Superchargers like one, but not a mega charger, right?
Yes.
Not for a truck thing. So they'll need to have a similar thing for about, if I do 4 million trucks, I'll need to have like 600,000, maybe 800,000 mega chargers, right? So they'll need to, and they'll be more cost. So I'm looking at, a $30 billion build out.
Well, let me see if I understand your point, because I'm a little bit not clear here. So
Yes.
you were using the mall example where you would have, I'm a small independent business. I need a 2,000 square foot business location. I can't afford to build them all around myself.
Yeah.
So somebody comes in and they say, okay, we'll get in the old days, it was Sears, Pennies, and May Company or something. And I'm going to get those 3 anchor stores. Once I've got those guys committed, now I can build up a bunch of these little small ones. So the analogy would be, I get 3 regional major trucking companies, or companies like a Walmart or somebody that needs a facility in a certain region that doesn't have a facility. Those 3 people could be the ones that say to Tesla, hey, we're good. We're going to give you this many trucks a day at these locations. Now, all the little guys that are in that area can come in and piggyback on top of that. And they can now potentially buy in or pay rent, whichever, whatever method people want to use. But one way or the other, they now get the advantage of this group that has put together a facility in a certain area.
Right. So the demand has to be put together, combined, and then the private equity and the money and government money has to go together to enable this thing. So I just did the calculation in my head. So 4 million trucks total in the United States, 500,000 mega chargers, right? So at $500,000 piece, unless they get even more lower price, but just gave that $500,000 piece, we'll look at $250 billion, right? That's just for the charger, does not include the mega packs and the solar, which is basically 3 times.
Right.
So $750 billion of infrastructure build out, right? So in order for me to do that, I need to aggregate these things for every 100 truck setup, which is like 10 mega chargers, a $15 million, $20 million thing, right? So you need to combine and build up this infrastructure and build out, all this stuff in all the locations. So then it's like if Pepsi's in there for, 2 million, Walmart's in there for 2 million, two other guys in there for 2 million, I got $8 million bucks, 6 million from the government, and then 4 million from extra capacity for other things. So then the $20 million block of build out into a reasonable size 10 port mega charging location would then be fully funded, right? Because Pepsi and everything is all in there. And so then we can then, green light and start dumping this out in different locations. So then
it comes back again to Tesla being in the driver's seat, basically like they are with regard to superchargers. So Tesla is going to have the big picture. They're going to be the Eisenhower administration in the 60s saying, here's how we're going to build out the U.S. the U.S. highway system. It's going to be Elon Musk and Tesla saying, okay, we've got the information because we're talking to all the big guys and some of the middle-sized guys and even some of the little guys. And because we're needing to customize for all these people, we know, okay, we need one here, we need one there. We need a truck stop to do this in this location. We kind of know where all the bodies are buried, and we can provide an approach that is the best, the optimal approach for everybody. And all they have to do is put all that information in, and Grok will tell them.
Right, yeah, and you need to aggregate the people and say, okay, if you guys are buying here, you guys are buying here, we can put it together and put this location is where we should, just like, where we pick to put a Starbucks, it's like, you need to look at all the aggregate demand and say, okay, here's the best spot for multiple partners. There's 4 or 5 majors, right? Anchor tenants. And then Tesla itself could be an anchor tenant. It can say, okay, we need to, like, there's, where is the shipping routes, right? Like there's massive amount of shipping, say, down highway, whatever, from California to Texas and that kind of stuff. You'd want to have all that filled out. You wouldn't be able to mostly put it at the existing gas stations because in the transition, the gas station is still being used. It's still giving diesel to trucks, right? So I can't just like, I'm going to remove these fuel pumps because they're still being used, right? I need to put it at the next highway exit and then dump in something that's fully open to say, okay, I'm going to use up this huge amount of land to put this thing in there. So that's the nature of this build out. So there's, in terms of the customization, it's like, I can make this 20%, 30% more efficient, but I can put together 5 or 10, groups into making what we need to make in the new truck, in the new e-truck stuff.
All right, so let's look at the TAM. That was the last subject matter here. So you and I have disagreed on the TAM. Well, we agree on the TAM. We agree on the percentage that Tesla is going to get of that TAM.
Right.
So in this particular speech by Priestley.
Dan Priestley, Dan Priestley,
Dan Priestley. Dan Priestley said that Tesla was going to be aggressively involved in this market. He did call on other OEMs. He says, look, we can't do it by ourselves. We need you guys to do it. And he says, but please understand, please hear us. Same thing is true for trucks that was true for autos. This needs to be from the ground up EV. You're not going to make a transition here. You need to build a brand new vehicle that is designed around an a battery-driven proposition. He says, but we need you guys to do it. We'll help you. We're here. Call us. So we don't know whether people will take him up on it. We do know that Mercedes and Volvo and some of the other major companies out there are making electric trucks at this point, but I don't think any of them have a from the ground up vehicle except for Tesla, do they?
The ground up vehicle from Volvo and e-Cascadia. So Freightliner, the biggest US/European. Daimler owns Freightliner.
Okay.
So Daimler and Freightliner have making the most gas trucks. They made the E-Cascadia from the ground up. But
Okay.
their 5-year effort, 7-year effort, ended up with an inferior truck.
Right.
Basically the equivalent of a Nissan Leaf versus the Model 3, right? If not good, if not competitive to actually replace diesel at scale.
Got
right?
it. Yep.
So for them to get the help to make a semi-truck equivalent vehicle, it looks like at least a 5-year effort to do that, right? So Tesla can want to help them, and probably, like I said, because 50% of the trucks are in China, the China truck makers will move quickly, and they'll get $1 billion support from the Chinese government to do
Right.
it.
Right.
So that can happen. But the urgency and the market is also based on the self-driving truck aspect, the robo-trucking aspect.
Right.
So, because that's happening, as we speak with FSD 12.4, 12.5, 12.6, et cetera, right? That getting to a full robo-truck vehicle by 2026, 2028, seems like it's aligned to that. So we need to not talk about an electric semi, but a robo-trucking semi.
Right.
And again, none of the other players have that either.
Right.
Right. So pretty much it's going to be Tesla being the way to make a e-truck, robo-truck at scale setup. But they can help the if the China, India, Japan, what guys get national support program, because the existing US trucking and European trucking, it's Daimler is not that big a company,
Right.
right? So them to totally re-engineer to do that, they don't have the capital to
Got
do
it.
it.
Got it.
They would need a massive handout if they're going to be the ones to do it.
And even then, how you possibly going to compare yourself to the engineering capabilities of a Tesla? It just
Right.
seems so. It seems obvious in the automotive side, but it hasn't happened yet on the automotive side, except on the charging system. But it seems so obvious that these guys should be coming to Tesla and starting to license.
Right.
On the trucks, it's even more obvious because these small trucking companies can't possibly put together the kind of engineering required.
Right. And then the amount of, so it's just, where are the trucks? It's mostly Asia, right? So 80% Asia, we already saw, 10% in Europe and the United States. These are huge numbers, but it's Tesla having all the trouble, like in the years delay to get to 50,000 trucks per year. How long for the other guys to do it? It's just like, you need to have 50,000 trucks per year. That's 50 gigawatt hours of batteries.
Right.
Right. So who has 50 gigawatt hours of batteries?
Yeah.
Right. And then all the solar and stuff like that. So the TAM is 20 some million and then doubling up. And then if I have robo trucking, it could transform our economics, where currently costs 10%. Like if you don't have special shipping, where it's okay, I'm building it into Amazon Prime. If you don't have Amazon Prime, you notice it's about 10% to do the shipping. If you have robo electric trucking, that could drop to like 1%, right? So there's like a 9% value added tax cut
Right.
on the entire world when you go to this thing, right? So that would be an incredible economic boom. It's like, like a 9% tax cut and everything. You could see the global economy doubling just off of the efficiency off of that thing.
Of trucks.
So
Yeah.
this is fundamentally reworking the world economy.
Right.
Right. For that efficiency. So then you'd want to do it. You want to get the robo trucking out there, not just for, okay, this truck company can get more efficient, but because our overall supply chain can become like 10 times more efficient.
Right.
I go from 10% down to 1%, and it's moving faster. It's it can drive 24 hours instead of like 8 hours. So my ground transportation from Florida to California could drop down to a day. Well, the 24 hours in a day, it means if I speed up the trucks to Audubon speed, the 150 miles per hour, I could cross the United States in a day, right?
Yeah.
So then, but it'd be cheaper everything. So basically every highway becomes a high-speed rail equivalent kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. 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 And so yeah, and make it, and I'm sure that, you know, I'm probably condescending to my audience, but I'm going to take that risk. You know, you look at even farmers, you look at the produce that's on your table at night. A lot of that is coming from Brazil. A lot of that is coming from Canada. A lot of that is coming from, you know, Ukraine. We
Right.
found out, you know,
Right.
and so by the time you put the fertilizer on a truck in the Ukraine and you take it from Ukraine to the docks and you put it on a ship and you ship it over to the United States, and then the fertilizer gets shipped to a distribution center, and then it gets put on another truck and taken to the farmer. Now the farmer unloads that truck of fertilizer, and you do the same thing with the seed, and you do the same thing. Now the produce is grown. Now you're cutting it, you're putting it on a semi truck, or you're putting on some kind of a truck to get it to the processor. The processor processes it into your cornflakes, and then you put it on another truck to get it delivered to the grocery store. I mean, it's just you know, the amount of trucking that happens on every single product, every single food group is massive. So the impact on the economy is, as you point out, could be on the order of magnitude.
Right, right. So it would be something that would, increase GDP from, 2, 3% up to 5 or 6 or something like that per year. So it would cause an economic boom to
Yeah.
happen.
Right.
And it basically like, it would clean up all the energy, all the pollution stuff, because
Right.
it would, as a side effect of going, virtually all solar and with battery packs and stuff like that, it would be, I think the proper vision is that in 30 years, we'll have 10 times more power.
Right.
It will still be growing at a fast rate. We'll be
Right.
fully electrified. It will, this supply chain will be totally reworked. All of the, natural gas, other than for industrial purposes of chemicals and
Right.
plastic,
Plastics.
and then the coal will be removed. So we'll have clean energy. We'll be using 10 times more, but it'll be cleaner. There'll be no air pollution from fossil fuels. Oil will be, again, only used for plastic and other products.
Right.
So it will be a clean world, and it'll be far bigger, and we have like, loads of AI and stuff like that. So it'll be a good thing that way, but it'll be far bigger. It'll be a vibrant, a big economy that happen. So the TAM then can become bigger, because
Yeah.
it's not going to be a static world economy. It's going to be one growing with AI. It'll be one that's hyper efficient with supply chain, right? So to say it's only going to be 20 million trucks that are replaced right now, it could end up being 200 million trucks,
Right.
because we're moving more goods, that everyone is 10 times richer.
Right.
And we're just, buying more stuff. It's difficult to see now
Yes.
because of, difficult economy, inflation and stuff like that. But it's like going from, that horse and carriage and stuff to, in the 1880s to fully rail, fully car, the mass production scale. The economy just got 10 times, 20 times, 100 times bigger.
Right.
So that's the TAM will be that. When you're changing the world you're in. So like the TAM for Ford with only like 1 million cars, 2 million cars, 10 million, but then everyone become middle class, which was beyond what everyone was poor before, then middle class. So then the demand ended up increasing. So to forecast a static TAM is wrong.
Right.
That it's going to be bigger
Bigger.
than that. Yeah.
All right, Brian, I think we've covered it, and that's the entire purpose for having you on this channel.
Yes.
To make sure we cover it. I mean, cover it. And we've done it. I'm looking forward to your questions and comments below, because I'm sure you still have some things that are not quite clear, because this is really quite different and new. We could use a few analogies from the past in order to make some of it make sense, but the truth is, it's a brave new world, and this you know, semi trucks may not seem like a big deal, but they are a very big part of what makes our world go around. And this is a massive change in how things are being done. So again, Brian, thanks for being on board. And
you.
to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.